Hey there, bookworms! Today I want to talk to you about a book called Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. This is a historical novel. It sets in late 17th century Holland, and it's about a young girl named Nella who gets married to a rich merchant from the city. And now she has to leave her home in the village and move with him to the big city of Amsterdam. And it's like a whole new world for her, and she tries to start this new life as a wife, life in a big city, etc. And then came the miniatures. I make it sound like a 50s horror movie, the miniatures from outer space. But there are some miniatures in the book, obviously, because of the name, and they are very mysterious, and Nella tries to find out pretty much what they are all about, and where did they come from, and what's behind them, what's the story, and most of all, who is this person who makes them, this miniaturist. Now, I really enjoyed this book. It was very interesting. The language was absolutely beautiful. I liked the story, I liked the mystery. It was very unique. If you've seen my previous videos, you know that I always like a good history lesson in the form of fiction. Even though it's not based on a true story. Now, I know absolutely nothing about 17th century Holland, so I have no idea how accurate it is. I know that a lot of people don't care. I do care if a story is historically accurate or not. I'm not sure here, but I do have a feeling that the author knew what she was talking about or writing about. Because at the end of the book, you'll see after the narrative and the story itself is over, there are a few pages of explanations that have I known about their existence before, I would have read them before I read the book. They have there some explanation of some Dutch terms that they are using in the book, and also some explanation about currency and how much did things cost, because as I mentioned, she marries a merchant. If you're interested in reading this book, I recommend skipping to the last few pages before you read it and just read the explanation. Maybe it will make things a lot clearer, although, as I said, I didn't know about them before. I managed to understand everything in the book through context. Hey, and I learned a few new words in Dutch, if they really are being used today as well. And before I read this book, I went online and saw a few other reviews, and something that surprised me a little bit is to see that a lot of people said that this book was pretty slow, that it starts slowly and never picks up the pace. And now I was a little surprised because, you know, it's a historical novel, it's not a thriller. How fast do you want it to be? And for me personally, this book, I read it very fast. I read it in a few days. It's not a long book, mind you. It's pretty short, and for me, I just read it in a really short while. It was very interesting. The pace was good, you know, considering the genre. However, after I finished reading it, after I knew that I read everything that there is to this book, I kind of looked back, and it seems as if there were some things missing in the plot. There should have been more. Now, I'm going to say it very, very carefully. I don't want to spoil anything to any of you. I don't want you to get the wrong idea that this book just ends abruptly and you get no answers to any of the questions, because there is a sense of mystery in this book. It's not a cliffhanger at the end. You do get answers, but you don't get all the answers. Now, I do think, after reading it and finished, and after it's been a while that I could think about things, I do believe that the book ends the way it does and in the place that it does on purpose. This is not lazy writing. I do think she meant to stop it where it does on purpose. And when you think about it, I think it's kind of like life. I mean, there are things that you would expect to happen. You would expect some bad people to get what they deserve, or some life stories to be explained. And you don't always get it in life, and that's the way it is in the book. Now, once again, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. This is a good book, and it ends at, you know, in the middle of some people's life, but it was like an end of a chapter and the beginning of a new one. And you do have answers, and I didn't lose any sleep wondering what happened. But if you know that you're one of those people that needs to have every little bit of information. And if there's a character, even if it's not a main character, that you know that something happened to them in childhood, but you never find what it was exactly, and you know that such a thing would drive you nuts, maybe you should think twice before reading this book. But I do think it gave you enough information, and the big things are being revealed and solved. But it was very short, and I did think, especially right after I finished reading it, I was like, oh wait, hold on, that's it, there is no more book. I did feel that I would have wanted some more, maybe even like 2 days after the book finishes, to see what else happened. But overall the story is being complete. Also, I found this book slightly feministic. It was very nice. Most of the characters in this book are women, kind of like The Help in a way. You know, you got all sorts of women. I mean, totally different story, but each one had their own attitude and story. And some of the women in this book are very strong right from the beginning. Some find their strength along the way and kind of grow up in a sense and mature, and others know their strength and know what they're good at and keeping to their strength. And it was very nice because, you know, 17th century was the time where women were kind of like possession either of their father or their husbands, and most people didn't marry for love. They were, you know, kind of set up there. And I thought it was nice to see some sort of feminism that makes sense. If you've seen my review of The Other Boleyn Girl, you know, you remember that I said there that you do have some feminism there, but it didn't make sense to me that at that time a person with that sort of education would want to be a free woman and everything. And in here the feminism did make sense, so that was nice. You know, women who find themselves, I think it's very nice in the story. No, I honestly expected when I just picked up this book to read just your average historical novel, life story in a certain setting, and I was very pleasantly surprised. The atmosphere is a lot more mysterious. There's something very unique in this book. The whole issue with the miniatures, the whole secrets that Nell tries to find out, and it kind of, sort of, in a way, reminded me in the atmosphere of the book Shadow of the Wind. Because it's also about someone who's looking for someone, and the atmosphere very mysterious and kind of magical in a way. It's not fantasy, there is no actual magic there. Don't worry if you hate fantasy. But something about it was a lot more unique than other books in the same genre, and I really appreciate that book for that, for being unique, and for the miniatures in it. So that's it for my review. I want to know, did you read The Miniaturist? What did you think? Do you agree with me or disagree? And I want to know, what kind of period in history do you love to read about? I no doubt am in love with Victorian England. I know I'm not the only one. It's kind of popular, but I love everything Victorian, especially the darkest bits. So like this video, subscribe to my channel if you dare, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.